Welcome to Podlygamists, the Sister Wives Rewatch podcast.
We sit down each week and recap an episode of TLC's longest-running reality show, following the Browns, a Mormon polygamous family originating in Lehi, Utah.
I'm Samantha Kaiser.
And I'm Haley Graff.
And this is Podlygamists, Season 2, Episode 4.
All right. Welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
I have made a full recovery. So
Yay.
not even a sniffle. So I don't know. It was like the craziest couple of days.
Aww.
But we're all good. Back up and running.
Just a cold, so.
Yeah, I mean, shockingly, I feel like it has all the markers except for I didn't lose like taste or anything like that. But yeah, I just took cold apparently, or some sort of flu. But we're all good. Back and
Yay.
recover.
Good, because that was rough. I felt so bad for you last week.
It was a struggle bus a little bit, but we did. I mean, it's like a blur that I don't remember. I just remember like coughing a lot, and I don't really remember anything else.
And I edited most of those out, so.
Good.
So.
I'm sure that was a fun process to do.
Yeah, but just kept marking where your coughs were. I was like, all right, gotta get that one out of here.
I tried to mute a couple times, but it's hard. It's like, because I have just my little toggle pad mouse here, so it's hard to like reach over and not cough and like get,
It's easier to just do it afterwards. So.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this was a fun one. Carving into Polygamy, Season 2, Episode 4. Oh, I gotta pull up our little description. Once again, getting creative with the titles. I don't know if I would call it Carving into Polygamy. I feel like we didn't really address polygamy at all in this. It was just like the family hanging out. So another really short summary. This aired in April, which like makes not a lot of sense. But April 3rd of 2011, the Browns celebrate Halloween with costumes and pumpkins. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what happens. There's not really a B plot. We just kind of follow them through Halloween, right? For the most part. In fact, we open the episode with plans, getting everybody circle the wagons so we can load up, get some pizza, eat it in the park, and then go to Evan's family farm. It's a lot of plugs in this episode.
Shout out to Evans.
Looks like we kind of get a little like clue into where the family's at because we find out that Mariah and Logan are the only two drivers of the kids right now, and Mariah, in fact, gets to hop in Cody's little sports car and drives to the park.
You know, she got a lot cooler car to learn to drive in than I did because I had my dad's full-size van.
Aww.
Which, that was a treat. And he did act the same way that Cody did when Mariah's like backing out. And he's like, oh my God, no. And I'm like, that is exactly how my dad acted when I was learning to drive.
I have a flashbulb. I was not the kid who ever got in a driver's seat before I got my temps. Like, a lot of people like
really?
They drove around a field somewhere as a kid.
Yeah.
Whatever. Or parking lot. I never did that. I don't know why. I just never like asked, I guess. So
yeah.
I'm very unaware of the rules of the road, like common sense stuff. And I remember going down, like when I first got my temps, I'm riding with my dad in our Explorer, I believe. We always had an Explorer. And it's on the highway, like near my neighborhood that I grew up, which I think the speed limit's 45, which feels very slow because it's just this long, boring country highway.
Yeah.
And even so, I was driving and I was just thinking of being a real smart driver. I was like to my dad, it's one lane each way. And I'm like, I'm just going to go 5 under so that I'm good. I'm just going to stick to 5 under. And he's like, yeah, you don't do that. You should just meet the speed limit.
I know, because you feel like, but like that's the absolute limit though. Don't I want to be like somewhere underneath the limit?
I was like, no, this is what a good driver does, because I had no idea that's like that, like 5 over is like actually what you should consider the limit, but
right.
Not limit, but like tentative. So, anyways, we kind of have like we could call it yakety sax. It was at normal speed, but it was just kind of like just like milling around all over the place. People like, oh, I need to get a thing, and they're just kind of like circled around the cars chatting, or they're running inside, outside, and they're just kind of the parents are just like kind of I wrote lamenting about the process of getting the kids from the house to the car. And Janelle pipes in that she's kind of thought about making a seating chart for the car, and I was like, I don't know that would solve this problem, Janelle, but I'm glad you're trying to. I'm glad you're action oriented here. You're trying to think of what we're gonna do to
I
resolve.
was like, that's exactly what Haley would do in this situation.
I mean, again, I don't see the correlation between like the seating chart and getting them from the house to the car necessarily. Most of the kids are real little at this point, so like I don't know. It's like herding. I'm sure it's like herding cats. Like you're just
Yeah.
like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
But I just that kind of made me laugh because of course she was kind of brainstorming some kind of idea. I'm like, good for you, girl. We gotta get this figured out.
This is a consistent problem. Let's fix it.
Yeah. Oh, apparently we have two convertibles.
Yeah, because Mary has one.
For some reason, seems like the most impractical.
For a family of this size, it's very impractical, and yet there are two. They must have got a good deal on them or something.
Yeah, like the pear. I did have a comment about Truly mowing on a wad of pizza. An infant Truly with like a handful of just pizza. Like,
how is she doing that? Does she? I mean, you have teeth, right? Like,
she just kind of seemed to be like sucking on it, but I was just like, "Eee, that was gross." I didn't. It was a little hard.
like they're like the sauce. She'll just like the sauce, maybe, to just suck the sauce out of the pizza.
Learn. I don't know. It was they cut to that, and I was like, "Huh, interesting." She's
everything she does. Every time they show Truly, I am endlessly entertained.
There's a later moment to it. I'm sure is what you're thinking of that I also made note of. It was like half a second of content, but you're like, oh, there's Truly.
And I'm just like, there she is. That's my hero.
The world's baldest baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the other thing I had before we get to our first teen confession is that when Cody and Mariah arrive and they park and they're like curb parking and she ends up like 2 feet from the curb. And he's like, "Yep, looks good." And I'm just like, what?
That was exactly me too. Like you just you do that check where you like open the door and make sure that you're like the proper distance. And it was always just way far away, and you're like,
better far than on it, I guess. And the last thing I have before we get to that confession is there's a confession with the adults, and Cody's explaining that it's been 5 months since the wedding, and Robin and the kids have integrated very well into their family, and they love being over at the big house. And Robin does say, well, you guys have integrated really well into my family. And I was like, good for you. Like, they do act like they've just acquired you and your kids. And, like...
yeah, I mean, you're still your own entity. You're still your own family previously. Like
a hired employee. Like, yeah, you've got a great fit for the team. And she's like, yeah, you too. Like, I don't know. I appreciated that little bit of, like, spunk. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, good for you, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First, all teen couch confession.
Loved it.
So yeah, we have the teens, and then we kind of cut back and forth between the teens and the little girls. The little girls' couch confession, which was everything I needed and more. It was the cutest thing.
It made my entire day.
I was like, I want to imagine like the producers like rounding up these girls and like, okay, girls, now who wants to talk? Okay, hop up on the couch, kids. And because some of them are so little, I'm just like, what are they gonna say?
Tiny Savannah,
little Savannah cracked me up. She's adorable. I'm sorry. Maybe it's because she looks like Muppet Baby version of Janelle. Like she is like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. This was a fantastic episode for Savannah. I thought. Loved it.
A woman, a few words, but she says it all with her presence. I feel like
just her being there.
She's adorable. They kind of get the kids' opinion right on how they feel the merger has gone.
The merger, yep.
Logan shares his thoughts. Like he feels the quote, and I want this quote because it just was so corporate and so Logan of like the transition has been very smooth and very successful. Like, got it. Thanks, Captain. Like,
you know, I don't know what he's doing for a job present day, but if he's not in some kind of corporate setting, he is missing his calling.
And then they kind of cut to the little girls, which I did list all the kids. I didn't list all the teens, which I'm a little bummed about, but Logan's for sure there. Mariah, Maddie,
Aspen.
And there's got to be another boy, Hunter.
I don't think Hunter was there.
Okay, darn it. Well, I'll reference that later, I guess. But
yeah,
we also cut to the little girls Aurora, Savannah, Brianna, and Gwen, uh, Gwendolyn. Little Gwen, just it's Muppet babies. They're just such little like caricatures of themselves now.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just like kind of the little legs swinging around, kind of like talking. And we get Aurora's opinion.
Her very like sort of official opinion. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she was very professional about it.
Yeah, well spoken,
Mm.
unaware of what's going on around her, just like, yeah, and I think it's going really well, and we love them, and blah blah blah.
And then next to her, Brianna's just sobbing.
Just fully bent over, head down to her knees. I didn't even see her there at first because she's like part of the couch. We're
Just
just
full on crying.
and Aurora's just chatting away, and then we see Savannah just give her a little back pat down there.
I wrote that down too. It's like she's just patting her on the back. Like,
trying to become
there.
confused about what's happening. Like, they're there. It's okay.
You know, like, do you watch the Mindy show at all?
Mindy Project?
Yeah, Mindy Project.
Yes.
Where she's like patting that girl on the face. They're there. I was like, that was the same vibe. Like, I don't know what to do with this.
Like, yep. But she's like, I think you're supposed to do it a gentle touch. So she's kind of silent, but then bursts into tears because at some point, allegedly, Gwendolyn pulled her hair. Did you see the hair pulling happen?
I didn't see it. It could have happened off camera. Who knows?
They were sitting not next to each other, so I was a little.
I don't know. Did she reach over? Because we didn't see it, but
Yeah, I mean, she had pigtails. It could have been like a little like stroke of a pigtail. I don't know. They were not seated.
Yeah, maybe her hair got like caught or something. I don't know.
They were not seated beside each other.
No.
So that was. Gwen does seem a little baffled, but she does apologize, which is
she's kind of just like, I'm sorry.
I didn't mean it. Like, what?
And they're all just kind of like giving her like a side eye, like she's just okay. She's just crying.
Yeah. Well, the brown kids, they kind of explain like between all the confessionals, like, yeah, we don't really like operate like this in this way. This like spontaneous crying. Robin does explain that Brianna's very tender. And that the little boys get annoyed with her because she's always crying. That's kind of like even Dayton, who's like Robin's kid, is like not.
He's very used to her.
Not into all the drama. Yeah, yeah.
I loved Gabe's quote because it sounded like something that he's just like regurgitating like things that he's heard before. But he's like, I like them because they have a good personality and stuff. He's like, but Brianna will cry for no reason.
It was so like political. Like he was like, "Hey, they've got great personalities. I like them." But Brianna, she just cries. She just cries. And the funniest part to that, and this is of course our first little boys couch confessional. So we get like the crew of little boys all sitting together, which is so cute and
so cute.
Gabe, who grows up to be, we've said it before, he's got a strong personality, a lot of opinions. He's very defiant. I really am like. I'm like forgetting all about them. Like, you are adorable. I love you. You're the greatest. Oh my god.
Same.
Like,
I feel like that because I'm like, he present day is someone that I would probably personally butt heads with quite a bit. I think if I knew him personally, we'd probably argue quite a bit.
I think he's an argumentative person. Yeah.
Baby Gabe, oh my gosh, is he a cutie?
Just so cute, and he has like a scene stealer every episode. It seems like the pogo stick, the hug.
And he's not like obnoxious about it though either. Like it's just a natural cuteness. Like he's not like vying for attention in like a kind of obnoxious sort of way that kids can do. He's just like it's just natural. He's just that darn cute.
We cut to Aspen, I think on the teen couch, kind of just saying like. Yeah, I think Robin just raised them differently than we were raised. And, like, I would say, yes, that's pretty clear.
Right.
But also Robin herself is a very feeling person. So, like, it's just also, like, part of who she is and who her kids are as a result of that. Like,
well, see, the thing is, I think, so if I decide to have children, they will be like that because I'm like that. Your kids will not.
I'll take Savannah. You can have Brianna. That
will be it though. Like that's an accurate representation.
It's my affinity for Janelle's kids. Like, and you think that's like something like in me? That's like this is
If your kids don't turn out like that, I think you'll really struggle.
Oh, what a treat if they do. Ugh, I love them. I love them. They're just darling. Like they're all the kids are great. I clearly have picked out some favorites, and they happen to be Janelle's kids, who happens to be my favorite.
But I mean, because I'm the emotional one of the two of us, at least. And yeah, my kids would be like Robin's. They would be feeling all the feelings.
Hmm.
And yours would just be like looking at them like, okay,
Pat,
they're there.
I've been told you're supposed to give an affirming touch.
Empathy. I got it.
And what are we gonna do about this? So what can we
like, no, kids, just cry it out. And then yours are like, no, action plan.
How can we move towards resolution here? That's funny. And Robin doesn't really like pipe in about like how she feels they've been raised differently necessarily. She just thinks her kids are emotional. And I'm sure they've been more encouraged to like feel feelings since Robin can relate to that.
Yeah.
But all the teens pretty much agree, like, yeah, we're kind of like toughen up. Like if you come home crying, like go outside, go play and
play.
Logan, and as all the teens are kind of like a little bit griping about like how emotional the kids are and how they don't really know how to respond to Robin's kids, Logan does chime in with, I think it's good for us. I think it's teaching us all more patience, and I think it's good for us. So again, the politician, the like team leader, here's the moral of the story. This is good for all you kids to learn patience.
Like, all right. I honestly can't think of an example of anyone I knew at like 16, 17 that would talk like that or think like that.
He's such a little adult. It's just
little man, like,
and so regimented. Just you could tell he's like a guy who likes structure. He likes a clean plan. I don't know.
He's very much a product of Janelle and Cody.
That is true. We get a second plug for the Evans family farm. I don't
yeah, they're at the park, and then Cody announces like in a grandiose kind of way, like, we're going to the pumpkin patch. And then I just thought it was hilarious because Dayton's in the background basically being like, huzzah!
I didn't see that, but that adds up.
And I just loved it. I was like, oh, look at him. He's so stoked.
He's such a little like cartoon in that way, like little like thespian. He just seems like he should be acting.
He's like a little theater kid.
Yeah, I don't know that he ever like pursues that when he gets older.
I feel like he's missing out then if he hasn't done it, because that seems like a natural calling for him.
It does. That's very funny. So we kind of check out what's going on at the farm. There's the kids terrorizing bunny rabbits, like baby Truly just like,
oh my god,
yanking.
I was like, easy, Lenny, Jesus, like,
yeah. It's like, dang, this poor bunny rabbit.
Take that bunny away from her. She's like ripping its face off,
and it's like in her face. I'm like, Bunny, are you gonna bite this baby? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, I would.
For like a moment, I was like, oh, she's kind of snuggling it, and then all of a sudden she had its like cheek in her hand, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah. I kind of made me wonder, like, there's not a lot of oversight to these bunnies. Like, how many bunny fatalities do we see at Evans Family Farm on it?
These, like, short-lived bunnies?
Yeah, I don't know. There didn't seem to be a lot of supervision besides, like, the family.
Yeah.
No shade to Evans Family Farm. Maybe there were supervisors off camera. That could very well be. What do you think about the hay trampoline?
I was like, what is this? I mean, I can't... Nothing around here, at least, that I've seen like that.
Well, I had to say, why? Like, just looking at that made my eyes water. I was just like, that's gonna be all that hay, like, dust up, kicking up.
Yeah.
Does the hay flying around add to the experience of jumping on the trampoline? Like, I was just like, what is the point of this?
Right.
But Mary's loving it.
Well, Mary's having the best time, so, I don't know.
They kind of do their pumpkin hunting. Like, there's, like, apparently acres of pumpkins, and the kids all get to pick what they want. And, like, those kind of farms, usually, like, pumpkins are pretty expensive. And I'm just thinking, like, talent, I'm like, this has got to be hundreds of dollars of pumpkins, right?
I know, like, it's a lot of pumpkin. I mean, and every single kid is getting their own pumpkin. So they end up getting, what did they say, was it 24 or 27 pumpkins?
There was a lot of debate over the number of pumpkins. I
Right.
feel like we kept getting conflicting answers because I think Logan said 30 odd. He might have been being a bit dramatic. I'm not sure.
Either way, I feel like they probably had to close down Evan's pumpkin farm after this because they probably took all the pumpkins.
We're out of out for the season.
Right?
We do cut back to the little boy couch where Dayton explains to us that he wants one that's big and plunk and orange. And I thought that was adorable.
I wrote that down too. I was like, that was so precious. The fact that he used the word plump.
Oh, I heard him say plunk, like with a K. And I thought that's why I laughed so hard. I was like, aw. He's too smart. Plump. He would know it's plump. He's a smart kid.
Yeah, I mean, it was a cute description. It was very.
It was like out of a kid's book, like the big plump orange pumpkin. Like he's just like, that's the one. I want the one from the
Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, right. Garrison really rains on his parade and says that those are only on the commercials. They're usually green and have bruises. And I was like, I don't think pumpkins really have bruises. And I don't think they're usually green either. But
I wrote that down. I was like, I've never seen green pumpkins like for sale. Not
usually green, I would say no. They're usually orange.
And like the green ones, aren't they like gourds?
Yeah, typically, right?
I mean,
those different like weird varieties now, but I'm sure they weren't seeing those out in that field. It was like, I don't know. He was just real. They cut to him really close. He's real like dry and just like, those aren't real. Those are in commercials. I was like, dang, Garrison. Okay, this is like your first like real interview that you've had, and you're really just shitting on Dayton's dream of this big plump.
Dayton just wants his big plump pumpkin. Okay,
so cute.
Don't shatter his dream,
Garrison, bud. Get on Gabriel's level. We got to be polite and then cut him with a little comment.
Exactly. That's the way you do it.
They show 3 wagon loads overflowing with pumpkins.
Peyton like picked up the overflowing wheelbarrow full and he's like, I've got this, and then dumps it to the side. Like, so then Mary takes over and Cody's giving her shit like, oh, you're not gonna be able to do it. And she was like, excuse me, yes I will. And she handles the wheelbarrow just fine. And then they go about how like Mary's like the dominant personality, yes, like get shit done. And I was like, dang, so different again. Like,
and also like nothing that we've seen in these first 2 seasons so far has given me that vibe at all.
The only time I think that it has is when they were moving Robin, and Mary's like very planning about the moving.
Okay.
But other than that, like they're like, Mary's the first wife and she's also like kind of the head because she sort of has that dominant personality. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, Maddie, she's like, she's not in charge because she's the first wife. She's in charge because that's just her personality, and all the kids kind of agree. And I was just like, I've seen her being very like submissive for the most part.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, she does have that kind of like sort of like organizational regimented, like when there's a task to be at hand, she's very like attacks.
Let's just get it done quickly so we can move on. But
so I guess that makes sense. But I was just thinking like that doesn't match what feel like I've been seeing.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe we'll see other examples of it. I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't really, with my line of thinking of like who she is and what her personality is, that's not really how I think of her. But
let's see.
So, I guess when she's taking the photos, though, she is kind of bossy.
That's right. Okay. Maybe she just has like a vision and she likes to execute it her way.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true. The next thing that I have was a confusing little snippet about Cody looking for red hairspray because he's going. Did he say he's going to Sammy Hagar, like to see a concert, or going to be Sammy Hagar for Halloween?
No, I don't think so because I think he's the son.
That's why I was confused, and I kept replaying it to try to.
Unless he was like comparing it to like going to a concert, that's like a look he would have.
Well, the thing is, Sammy Hagar is blonde, so I was like, why? That wouldn't be.
He was very adamant about wanting the light red hairspray.
Yes. Okay, yes. And now I'm trying to see if there's like Sammy Hagar with red hair at any point. Not seeing it. He's blonde and he kind of does resemble Cody a little bit. So I think was he heading to a Sammy Hagar concert and wanted to have red hair for that?
He's like, I'm going to swing by that after trick-or-treating. Is that cool?
I think this was a few days before Halloween. Like, they were like, I don't know. I really wanted clarity. I don't know why they included it, but didn't like feel the need to include more info on that. Because I'm like, I want to know that Cody's solo going off to a Sammy Hagar concert right now.
Weigh in, listeners. Do you know?
Yeah, please let me know. Did Cody Brown go to a Sammy Hagar concert in October of 2010? That's what I need to know.
Please Instagram message Haley and let her know.
Friend who came to the bachelor party, tell me. I don't need to know. Okay. The wives are going as the elements. They wanted Cody to be Avatar: The Last Airbender, which cracked me up.
Right?
What, are you gonna give him a bald cap with like an arrow? I wanted that to happen so badly.
That would have been very fun.
And they're such nerds. Like all these wives are like in agreement. Like, yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like all four of you have sat down to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender on Nickelodeon.
Right?
But they're all going as Earth, Wind, and Fire. And Garrison again with the toot comes in with calling them sister wives, saying it's sister wives nerd talk, which was very funny. We got Logan running the pumpkin show.
Mm-hmm.
Very like got some strict regimen he's running here.
They're all basically out on the lawn doing their pumpkin carving.
Good idea to do it outside. I feel like it's usually too cold to do that comfortably outside here in Wisconsin, but it made a lot of sense to have 30 pumpkins carved outside, and they're all scooping out the guts and making a big mess, and Logan's giving instructions. I don't have much to say about this little piece, except that Savannah with her crown is very cute.
I wrote and I was like, look at her just quietly carving her pumpkin all sweet.
She's just a doll. Just a doll.
So cute.
Cody accidentally butt dials 911, which was like
I wouldn't do that.
The most dramatic part of this whole thing, which was kind of a non-issue, but they kind of do talk about, yeah, how do you do that? First of all, I don't know. Especially on like an old, we had like a flip phone, right?
Yeah.
Did you have like a BlackBerry? Either way.
Even if you had like a BlackBerry with the buttons.
Yeah.
Did they do that just for like a tiny bit of drama for the show?
Like, we need to spice, this is too wholesome, we need to spice it up with some thrills. But it's like barely, it's like nothing. It's like, they're like.
It was like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and they do like, say like, yeah, the kids now when they see police, they get a little nervous. They call us to make sure we're like, okay or whatever. Which is sweet, but like even that, it was just like there wasn't even a police that showed up for this whole thing. It was just sort of like, oh, dad accidentally butt dialed 911. Even he's laughing. He's like, yeah, it's weird.
I feel like they were just trying to remind you that, like, yes, we're still dealing with the trauma of being under investigation. Like,
this is all okay. Nice. This is all nice and stuff, but remember, we're still living in fear. Like
exactly, like we are having a nice day, but we know it could turn at any second.
Lurking under the surface at all times. Yeah, it was like an attempt at kind of spicing up the plot a little bit.
Which I didn't feel like the episode needed it, but whatever.
No, and it was like, again, it was like 3 seconds of nothing, but
it wasn't even a subplot. Like
we kind of cut to like Halloween prep, costume prep.
You know, because then they're doing like, they were debating like of Cody being the son or whatever, and then they're like, oh, but he could be man because he's powerless against the elements, which are then the wives. And he's like, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and also like you get the feeling Cody wants a little bit of flair in his costume. Like he doesn't want to just be man. He wants to curl his hair for some reason. Like he needs.
Yes, he does.
So as he's getting his hair curled for like, again, unknown reasons, just to make him feel pretty,
some pampering. Everyone needs that once in a while.
he goes, I guess I'm gonna be the son. And you can just tell he just like he keeps dropping this idea of being the son. He really wants to be the son. Like he wants
because like the earth revolves around me.
Exactly. He's like they keep saying, no, you're not, that doesn't make sense, you're not the son. And he's like, oh, I guess I'm the son. Like, okay, you insist.
Someone has to do it. I guess I will.
I'll be the son. Center of all of your universes. Okay. And if you have to curl my hair, I'll take it for the team. Like,
I guess. I'll sit through that for you.
He's just like, what?
Like, okay, Cody, sure.
Janella's earth, Christine is wind/air, and Mary is fire, and Robin is wind/water.
Right. I know they kept debating what Christine and Robin were. They couldn't decide.
They looked similar. Both
I felt like they picked good elements based on their personalities. Janelle being Earth.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense.
And I feel like Christine, if she was air, made a lot of sense as an air.
Light.
Yeah. And then Mary, if Mary's personality is dominant, then it does make sense to be fire. And that would make Robin water, who's kind of like the peaceful one.
That's true, and she can kind of diffuse Mary later in later seasons.
Yeah, so
it is very appropriate, I guess.
Yeah, so maybe they had some thought in that.
Yeah, I wonder if there was like any kind of like sort of passive aggressive debate about who was going to be what. Like, oh, Mary, you got to be the fire, and she's like, oh, yeah, why is that? You know,
yeah, right. Why? Are you saying I'm aggressive?
You get something, you got opinions, or right? Like, oh, Christine's airy, air.
You're an airhead.
Yeah, I could just see that being like,
oh, thank you.
Oh, you gotta be you have to be air, and she's just like, wow, you feel really confident about that, huh? Like, what? Really?
Tell me more.
Yeah. I could just see that conversation being touchy.
Right. And Peyton.
Yeah.
I felt like he was like a classic middle school boy Halloween costume.
Halloween, but does want to trick or treat still.
Yeah, where he's like kind of getting the age where you're almost going to stop trick or treating, but like you still can, you still want to.
The scary
mask. And gets a scary mask and a hoodie.
Yeah. Yep. Like just to kind of be past.
He's like, I still dressed up. I can get candy.
Yep. Too cool for Halloween, but still wants to do
right.
Sure.
Exactly.
We do like the kind of a costume roundup, which was fun and cute, and I wish we would have saw everybody's costumes.
I know.
Gwen, I wrote her name as just Gwen for all these just to shorten it up, but Gwendolyn is Dad's little twin, which was so funny. Oh, she's so excited because I'm his little twin, and she's like doing like crab walking, like running around. Like, dude, that's so weird.
She's got her hair curled.
Yep. I don't know why that just kind of like
it was very funny and cute.
And then we cut to Truly sneezing.
Yes, I wrote that down. Truly sneezing in that little chair.
In that little chair. Just that's all. That's her. She's just, like, it's like Gwen and Truly, and she's like
Truly over to Truly,
and then moving on. Like,
but it's her again, just looking like they plopped a baby doll in a little child's chair and
just in the action at all times. Yep.
Sneezing in the cutest little way.
Is adorable. Aurora is a vampire. Peyton is the mask guy. Brianna is an angel.
Yeah.
Dayton is a mobster. Very cute. Love to see the costumes. Wish I could have seen more. TLC. Just a reminder for next year.
Yeah.
Next year, which happened 10 years.
I know. As if we can go back and redo it. I don't know. We'll see, but more costume content is all we're asking for.
I wrote that I'm glad to see everyone is equally confused about whether Robin and Christine are air or water.
And Cody compared his outfit, saying he was like a rock star clown, which
appropriate. Yeah,
it looked like that. Yeah,
and he was feeling it though at the same time. He does the tongue.
Anything that gets him attention, he's feeling. So,
yep. This was like not super like, but just like the magic of Halloween as a child was just like in this huge pack of kids, and you're getting ready all together. You're getting ready. Mm-hmm. They're all like traveling down the street in a big old herd. And it's just like Halloween because like one of the parents, I can't remember which one it is, just talks about how Halloween is stress free. Kids the kids just run the streets. They get candy. Like it's just like.
Yeah.
You just remember the excitement. It's like up there with Christmas where you're like so excited. It's getting dark. There's some like Monster Mash music playing and it's so fun.
Spooky movies and like
come on.
I know. It was such a like nostalgic, happy kind of episode. Mm-hmm. Like all the kids just like descending on the neighborhood. Like it was so sweet.
I also wrote that it was a very like old school, and I appreciate in a way that I very much appreciated stance on Halloween. Like, I feel like no parents. I mean, I shouldn't say no parents today, but like all parents that I know today are not saying go crazy with the candy, kids. Eat, clutch as much as you can, come back, eat all of it.
Yeah.
they're like, okay, now we're gonna take this and put it in a high jar up here, and you'll get one piece every other evening after dinner. And like it's like very much like, you know what I mean, like very
Yeah.
controlled.
You're
Whereas
like taking the fun out of it though.
yeah, like you're supposed to kind of get sick a little bit about it and have like
Yeah, yeah. I ate so much I threw up. Like, I mean, nobody wants that, but like that is just sort of like those memories that you have. Like,
you kind of learn. You kind of learn and then you do
yeah.
it again because once a year. It's kind of like you're kind of training to be an adult who drinks, and you're like, I know I should only have one or two, but like I'm gonna have a
It's just so
couple.
fun.
It's fun, yeah. And I know it's gonna hurt and it's a bad idea, but like here I am filling up, you know.
The whole episode just like kind of made my heart happy. It was just they were all getting along and like it was just it was so fun to watch. It was so much fun.
We can't miss the last reveal. Did you have any more notes?
Well, I had one about truly getting scared.
Oh, I didn't see that.
What's your note?
Okay, mine's kind of a wrap up. So what was yours?
Well, so like Cody's wanting everyone to. He's like 1, 2, 3. We're gonna yell Happy Halloween, and
Aw.
then they all do, and truly like
Aw.
start us. Because just remember, like, what the hell is this? What are these people? Like, they pass me around like I'm a doll, and then they're all screaming at bedtime. Like, what is this?
That's so funny. So the last big reveal that I had, which I feel I've hyped up too much now, but I feel I'm gonna keep riding. The last thing we hear Robin say is her famously long-standing soundbite for the intro, which is, "It seems like destiny. Like we should have all been together from day one. I couldn't have picked a better family." And that tagline is glued to her like headshot for the next 10 years, pretty much. Right?
Right. I was wondering if I couldn't remember. Like, I didn't remember that she said it just in an episode, like more organically. I thought that they just had her record that for the intro.
You would think, but all the
Yeah.
sound bites I've noticed, most of them came from like the early beginning, and they do change. Because right now, Robin's is like something along the lines of like, "I like the team. I want to be part of the team," or something like that.
Yeah.
This is the one that really is like, I think to this day, the one that's, although the most recent season doesn't even have those sound bites, but for many years, I think it's part of her intro. So I don't know. I got like a real like thrill out of that. Like,
Yeah, you're like, oh, that's where it's from.
well, when she starts to say it seems like destiny, I'm like, wait a minute, what is she about to say it? And I'm like mouthing it along like, together.
Haley's over there lip syncing along with Rob.
It was trend. I was like, what? Did I have to rewind it? Like, yep, I heard it right. So I don't know. That gave me a thrill. I can't. That's a real Sister Wives nerd moment. But
Right.
Sister Wives nerd talk moment, as Garrison would probably.
As Garrison would say.
Just a few like wrap up comments. I guess we Under the Banner premiered last week, and it had 2 episodes, and it's going to be a 1 episode weekly from here on out. And I think until it wraps up.
Is it on what? Going to be Thursday nights that it premieres?
Thursday.
Like a new one?
Yeah, I think on like the streaming, it just kind of shows up at midnight, 12 a.m. on Thursday, so it's there all day. But I mean, yeah, I watched it on Thursday evening.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you have any immediate thoughts about it?
Well, for those who have read the book or listened to our book discussion, there are some differences, obviously, with it being a show. First being that, like, they are focusing on, like, the detective story, with Andrew Garfield being, like, the investigating detective, who is not, a character in the book or anything like that. I will say, starting with, like, a positive, I love his partner, is Officer Bill, who is played by, what's his name, Gil something?
Yeah, the famous kind of like Native American actor who's like in anything.
I think he's from the Twilight movies. I think he's the dad, Jacob's dad in Twilight movies, I believe.
Gil Birmingham.
Gil Birmingham. I love his character in the show. I get a kick out of him. He's a nice kind of foil to Andrew Garfield's real straight-laced detective. So like a good cop, bad cop kind of vibe. But I really enjoy him a lot so far in the show. What about you? What are your first thoughts?
Well, we talked a little bit about it. I feel a little bit like it's a caricature of these people. Like, it's just so... Andrew Garfield is so almost too charismatic, of a evangelical, like, street corner preacher. Like, the way he, like, there's a point where he's interrogating one of the Alan.
Yeah, Alan.
Alan are kind of like arguing almost in the interrogation, and he's just so like when he gets on his like high horse about whatever, he's like and the blah 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 and
Start quoting the scripture,
these
like
fell part. You know, that's not what it says, but it's just very like he gets this whole like other stance and like as if he's like on a mount like preaching to these like Joe Smith, and that
mhm.
was kind of weird as our protagonist to have him seem so like charismatic leadery like that in a way that's like in a way that's unsettling, not where you're on board with him as the viewer. You're kind of like,
Yeah,
I don't know if I like that, which is
yeah.
part of a
'Cause
complex character, but like it just was like you know.
which I think will be his journey overall in the season. Because I mean, like reading the blurbs and stuff, where they're like, because Andrew Garfield's character as the detective is a Mormon himself, and he does in this story in the show, he does know the Laffertys and stuff. He's been in the same kind of circles and everything with them.
Mm,
So through this whole experience of him investigating the murders and stuff, is him kind of questioning his faith. Then I think is so it is just interesting though to see him so kind of like righteous and in
yes,
sort of an aggressive way that
like
doesn't exactly endear you to him right off the bat.
yeah, which yeah, I mean that's like part of an interesting story, I guess, but I don't know
Mm-hmm.
that it to me it gave me the impression that they're a little bit making fun of Mormons, which like isn't the point in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know. I guess it's just you have a character and they're going to be elevated for entertainment. But yeah, I don't know that part. And then also like his mom in the room, just like in her nightgown all the time, like quietly waiting to pray. It was weird and like confusing to me.
You're like scary grandma in the basement. Like,
Yeah, like who are you and why? What did you contribute to this?
yeah, I'm not really sure where the story is going, if anywhere, with his mom in the basement.
Yeah, yeah. But
Don't know.
I also, and in that, in anyways, to that point of the characterizations, at first I was really unsure about how they were portraying Brenda.
At first, I was too.
Yes,
As the episode went on, I was like, "Oh, okay, you're doing it well." But at first, I was like, "What is? I don't."
it felt like a caricature of someone who it felt like a caricature of someone who is religious by someone who is not. Like they're just like
Yeah,
this is what these people are like. They're just oh and Father and the Lord would want me to go to
they
the
say
college
Heavenly Father all the time.
like in casual conversation, like, oh, the Heavenly Father would want me to go to the big city, but not the gross big city with the rats. And I was just like, what? What decade is this happening?
And it's interesting because I mean, the guy at least who wrote the pilot episode is Mormon or was Mormon, so I
Yeah.
mean, he's very familiar with
Yes.
the culture. And I was like, I don't know that your average Mormon uses the Heavenly Father in such casual conversation on the regular, but
Chatting
I
about
don't. I guess I only know personally. I've only met one Mormon who was a professor in college who was not like that at all. So I don't have like a great point of reference for it, but
yeah, funny thing, I found out last night talking to my mom on the phone that my grandpa's mom, so I guess my great grandma, was Mormon.
really,
Yeah. I think she converted into something else later, but like she was Mormon, which is, I mean, my
which
grandpa,
didn't carry down the line for you guys then, I guess.
nope, did not. I mean, they like came to Wisconsin. You know, it would have been the early days. If I'm
Like the
thinking about this.
1840s
Gosh, okay, I mean, early, relatively early, like maybe 50 years into
Mormonism.
Mormonism. She was a Mormon, so gosh, that is interesting now that I'm thinking about that and that journey. But yeah, they came to Wisconsin and actually settled near in Independence, um, where our family farm was. But she did not like keep it, and I don't think he was raised religious. Really, my grandpa, in any fashion. So maybe that just wasn't part of her life. But interesting nonetheless. And there might be somebody with some information about that I'll have to look into
You should do some research. That'd be kind of a cool dive into your family tree.
for sure. Um, anyways, they do develop Brenda into a more interesting and like not so like blindly faithful person. I feel like
Especially, I think, in the second episode,
yes,
um, where because we know from reading the book and stuff and knowing about Brenda that she's wanting to go into broadcast journalism and does have a career for a little while, like in TV broadcast journalism. But in the show, they kind of do a whole sort of scene where she's wanting to read the nightly news and stuff like her male classmates are, and they're like, oh well, people don't trust women with the news, whatever, the classic sexist shit. And so then she's like, well, let me try it. And so her professor has her alone reading, oh, we'll have you read the news. It's like a trial run. And then of course I was like, oh, he's being a little familiar there, what's he doing, and like of course he's hitting on her, and she handles it in such a like tactful yet assertive way, that I thought was a great way to illustrate Brenda's character. Like I thought that scene was really well done for her character.
They also do a really good job of showing the way that the other women really in the family gravitated towards her and like held her in pretty high regard for like someone, even though she's the youngest, like in real life, and like the newest, and like kind of the least respected by the men probably in the family.
Right.
They do respect her a lot and lean on her a lot for like perspective and that kind of stuff, which I thought was well illustrated, I guess.
Yeah.
I know they're actors. I know it's Hollywood. There's not like fugly actors out there. I didn't like how young and like attractive they made the Lafferty, Ron, and Dan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because I don't picture them that way at all.
I picture them as like greasy and whatever. But obviously, I mean, they were charming and people like them, so they couldn't have been like gremlins. But I'm just
but
like,
it's, I mean,
they look
for
so
reference, like it's what, Sam Worthington,
yeah, yep,
guy from Avatar, I think. And
really.
then
Oh, Avatar.
Wyatt Russell is playing Dan.
Yes,
Obviously, both classically good looking guys. So,
it just was kind of like I was like, these guys look like Hollywood act, whatever. We'll get there, I'm sure. But overall, I think it's good. It's interesting. There's some. I'm curious.
it's a little hard when they're kind of going back and forth with trying to like do the history.
Yes.
It's a little weird because they typically have had a character, mainly Alan, sort of explaining the Mormon history in kind of a unprompted
Yeah.
way. Like he just sort of starts going off about Joe Smith, and you're like, "But why are you doing this now?" Um,
Yep.
so that's a little. I get it's probably kind of hard to figure out how to integrate the history in a way for people to understand how meaningful it is to what happens in present day with the
Yeah.
crime. But
The cutbacks to like the historical scenes are strange and sporadic.
yeah,
And like uncredited acting. I mean, not uncredited. I'm sure they're in the credits, but like they were not like advertised as like who's playing these characters. So it
I
must
have no idea who's playing Joe Smith. It's just some guy.
be
Like,
quite a small like role. So that was weird, and it's Alan is an interesting character also to follow, and I have a lot of questions about how they developed him. If it's kind of like creative license, or if it's like they got more info on what this dude's like in real life. Yeah, I'd like to know where they get those like inspiration from, and it could very well just be like we don't have a lot of info, so we're gonna make him this way. And he's
right.
like not the most sympathetic thus far, but I don't know what that's founded in. The funny thing is Moroni Lopez Jessup advised. It was like an unofficial, or he explained it as like an advising role for this, and he went to the premiere. He got to see like the panel and all that stuff. So some of these questions could be answered by him if we ever get the chance to chat with him, potentially.
Again, Mr. Jessup, if you would like to come on the pod, we would love to have you.
Would love to have you. Would love to ask about your experience in this production and so on and such. So I don't know. Just a
That
little.
would be a very fun conversation. So
Just follow us on Instagram, which is very knowing
maybe
our
one day we'll get the courage to actually message him and ask.
wants to do an interview on our.
If he ever listens to episodes, so here are multiple open invitations, but
Been multiple, if you, yeah.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a whole lot of other trigger warning about the dog. As soon as I saw a dog in that, I was like, fast forward for like 10
Yep.
minutes. And I want to know nothing. I heard Sam warned me that there's violence against a dog.
Mhm.
And I just don't have the.
Life's hard enough. I don't need to see that.
So
So yeah, I mean, for anybody listening who hasn't caught up or anything yet, episode 2, there will be a tough scene involving violence against a dog. So if you are sensitive to that, like we are, you can fast forward through it. It won't change any of the episode. Like it doesn't affect the story at all, so you won't miss anything really crucial. But I had just read an article that said that, and I was like, oh, thank God they warned me, because then I could fast forward it. And so I told Haley too. So then, fair warning for anyone listening that you can fast forward if it would bother you. So.
There's a lot of characters that I'm not familiar with, but from the book, so we're kind of like figuring out how they fit in, what with the additional like Lafferty siblings they like kind of work out.
Silent Jacob creeps me the hell out, but
I haven't gotten that creepy vibes yet.
Well, the killing of the squirrel was weird.
Maybe I also fast forwarded. Oh, I did. I fast forwarded to just and landed where Brenda's like, "What you doing with that squirrel, buddy?" And I didn't see the part before that, so I didn't.
I mean, he's like in the woods by himself, and the brother Jacob. I don't know much about him, but he doesn't talk. I don't know if he has some kind of disability or whatever, but he just is like in the woods casually, just like with a bloody squirrel that he just killed, and so she's like helping him wipe his hands off on her dress, and I was like, that's nicer than I would have been.
I was like, why? I was thinking, I'm like, is that easy to wash off? Like, I was just
I mean, like her white dress, and she's like,
yeah, I'm like,
okay,
you gotta be backing away really quickly, but whatever.
Sure, okay. Like, I don't know, I'd keep an eye on that one, but
yeah, you're okay. I forgot about that part. Otherwise, I was like, hey, he's just kind of there. He's not doing a whole lot.
That part weirded me out. So
we kind of talked about adding a little like segment to the end of the pod, just like shout out / recommendations of things that we've been listening to or reading or watching that we like, just to like support other things out there. So what did you have for that?
Well, so for podcasts, this is in the true crime vein. So again, if anybody has liked our little foray into true crime and wants more, found this on Instagram. It's a girl. She's young. She seems like probably college age, but it's called The Bazaar Podcast, and she's only got a couple episodes out so far. Like I think like maybe 3. I haven't listened to the most recent one, but she does the podcast by herself, which I found, because you and I know, I mean, starting a podcast, I think I found nervous we were our first episode, and I drank 3 glasses of wine just to like get through recording. And so I'm like, kudos to her for doing a podcast by herself and keeping it entertaining. And it's like true crime stuff, and I think it's going to be like true crime, paranormal, kind of creepy sort of stories, if anybody likes that kind of thing. But yeah, so I shout out to her. She's doing a good job so far, so that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, good for her. I haven't listened yet, but I did follow her after you mentioned it to me, and it looks like she's covering Gabby Petito, which is interesting, and I definitely plan to listen because I'm curious what she kind of has all. I remember we were working together when that case was happening real time, and a lot of like conversation and real time updates, and eventually, just recently now, finally they found or confirmed like the skeletal, not recently, but relatively recently, they just confirmed the skeletal remains of the, I guess, killer in that case.
Right.
So, yeah, lots of interesting stuff, and it'd be interesting to see it all compiled in one kind of place, because when we were watching those updates, it was like, here's a little snippet of information, radio silence for 3 weeks. Here's a little snippet of information, and,
right. Yeah, it wasn't like a complete story. It was obviously unfolding in real time, and everyone was just kind of on the edge of their seat wanting to know what happened and hoping for a better outcome, but...
Yeah. So, yeah, I would definitely be checking that out. I also had a podcast recommendation, which not exactly small time, but like not huge. So Kulap Vilaysack, I think I'm saying that right, and Suchin Pak have a podcast called Add to Cart. This is real unrelated to our topics, but actually in a roundabout way, there is a connection. And maybe that's kind of the way I have to force myself to make a connection to like our but basically they talk about products they like and ordered and tried, and they're both very funny women, like they're comedians, and they have different guests on, and they recommend products, and then sometimes it's crazy shit, like a pillow I would love, and I can't. It's just like this crazy pillow, or like the Mr. Tongue scraper, or like what, like it's always some interesting, and they're very funny. And they like to shop, and they have like the means to do so more than I do. So it's just kind of fun to be like, if I had money, I could just buy whatever your made seen on TV product I thought was interesting, and just kind of fire it off and like tried it out. What would I say? What would I just think it's fun, and also makes me think about some things that I want to sometimes, like certain like shoes or whatever. But Suchin Pak was at one time a host of the Tell All. So,
Yeah.
so which as such what a funny like comedian she is. She's a journalist. That's kind of her deal, but she's so funny. And
And you would not know that.
she was very like stone cold professional, like So I don't know. I'd love to like. I wish I have never heard her like talk about that experience, but I would love to hear about it. Um,
Yeah.
and they've had a lot of different interviewers over the years, but she's actually kind of still in the in the zeitgeist, I guess. So, anyways, add to cart, hosted by Kulat Vilaysack and Suchin Pak.
And that's a nice one too, because like I know some people listen to this podcast because it is generally pretty light,
Mm-hmm.
aside from like the Under the Banner of Heaven stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're looking for something that's like funny and not true crime related, like,
Fun. It's just fun. They're like it's just I love a podcast that's kind of just like comedians talking because I enjoy it. I love to hear the word choice and like all the stuff. Like I just think it's like brain food in a way because like
right?
they're just so like intelligent verbally. So yeah, that's my recommendation, and that's I think kind of all for now. If you want to follow us on Instagram or email us. The suggestion just sounds funnier every week that I have it, but it's there.
One of these times, I'm gonna be shocked when someone like emails us, and then I'm not gonna know what to say to respond.
Yeah, like wow, we'll have to like read. We'll read it. Maybe if it's appropriate, we'll read it aloud. We'll do something
I'll forward it to Haley and ask her to please respond.
special.
She's the social person on the social media.
But it's really fun to have some engagement and like see what you guys are like and what's going on out there in your world and like why you care about our silly podcast and like
Right.
what you recommend and if you get recommendations to share, we'd love to share them as well. If you have your own thing, we'd love to share that as well.
Yeah.
Um, we're all about kind of promoting each other and supporting our fans like you've supported us.
Exactly.
And that's Podlygamists pod on Instagram and podlygamistpod@gmail.com. I think that's about it.